Most people live by the clock, deadlines, alarms, expectations, but there comes a moment when the clock stops running your life, when you decide to stop living by the rules and start creating your own. This is Unclocked, a Candlewood Lake Media Group production. Real stories from real people who took control, broke patterns, and built life on their terms, where every story reminds you to stop counting the hours and start making them count. Hi, we're here with Geraldine Woodruff at Terston, and this is an episode of Unclocked. This is our second episode, and I'm so excited to have her here. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
So, you own Terston, located in Kent, Connecticut. But before you became a business owner, who was Geraldine, and what led you here?
Complicated question, but I own a retail store, and I've always been in retail. I've been in a managerial position in the UK and also in New York City. And when my husband and I were looking to move out of the city and maybe start a family, then that's when the store sort of was conceived.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Was it a solo adventure, or did you and your husband do it together?
He's never been involved other than helping me build out, spaces. No, initially I actually started with my sister-in-law, and that was in the late 80s when wasn't the best time to try and start a business. But then when I reopened, I was on my own. Yeah.
Perfect. Was there a moment in your life when you realized you wanted something different or something of your own?
I don't know that I specifically thought that. I mean, going into business for yourself is a scary thought. And you wonder, how it's going to work and do I know enough? Um, it was more that moving out of New York City and coming to live up here permanently, I was going to have to find something to do, a way of making a living. And there wasn't anything that I could see where I was going to fit, so I had to create it for myself.
What fears or doubts did you have to work through in order to take that leap?
Um, well, I think the fear initially is more sort of financial, because you're putting money out and to start with, and there's not really a whole lot coming in because you have to build. But I knew that I had it. I just was more fearful of how long it was going to take to
Mm-hmm.
actually take off and to what degree.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, Kent has its limits. It's a population like 3,000, hasn't really changed over the years, although we get influx of visitors. Um, so it was, again, being in the right spot. I feel our first location was a poor location, so that wasn't good. So you learn from your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't really doubtful. I knew that something was going to work.
That's
Yeah.
good. So what advice would you give somebody that's looking to venture into opening up their own business?
Well, it depends on the type of business, but I really think you shouldn't go into a business that you know nothing about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew the nuts and bolts of retail, um, and I managed people and whatever, but I still hadn't owned my own business. You're always going to be doubtful. There's a lot to learn. Every day I learn. But you having to learn how to deal with accountants, insurance agents, how to do your books, how to do things that when you're working for a large corporation, you're not doing that. You're managing staff and sort of layout of the setup of the store in my case. um, but I wouldn't advise anyone to really start a business that they have no knowledge of. If you've been in marketing for a big company, then yes, go into marketing on your own. But don't think if you've, I can't think, but I think that a lot of people do go into retail thinking, oh, it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's just a fun thing to do. But I've had to earn a living from this. It's not just fun.
Yeah.
It's work. So I think that would be my advice: is really don't go into a business that you know nothing about. You got to do your homework. You either got to have the experience, or you've really got to do your homework. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That was great advice. How did your confidence as a woman in business, especially how did you find your confidence as a woman in business, especially in a small town environment?
Well, what was great about Kent, and still is to a degree, is when I opened my business, all the business owners in Kent were women. The bakery was owned by a woman, the bookstore was opened by a woman, the other clothing stores were owned by women. So it was a supportive group, and they were doing business and surviving. So why couldn't I? And so I think we fed off each other, and that's a good thing.
No, that is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's good to have that group of
Right.
core
Yes.
women that are doing the same thing
Right.
and want that same goal, because
Yeah.
then you guys support each other,
Right.
and that's perfect.
Yeah.
I that's something that I stress, is always surround yourself with other people,
Yes.
like-minded people,
Yeah.
because then you guys are both
Right.
pushing each other to the same
Right.
goals. That's
Yep.
very good. What does your average day look like right now? And how do you balance being a creative, a leader, and a woman just in your own life?
With difficulty. That's the hardest the hardest thing that I've had to manage through all of this is the work-life balance. I mean, when my kids were infants, they came to work with me. In fact, my daughter was in a Moses basket on a bench at my old store, surrounded by pillows. And someone came up to me and said, "Is it real?" I thought I was selling her, I think. But my work day is fairly long. I mean, I don't open the store till 11, but I'm usually here by 9:30, and we close at 5, and I usually don't leave here till 6 or later. And I often, after I've had dinner at night, I'm at my desk. And it's not what I feel it's become harder since we're online all the time, and we have to now market through social media. And most of my vendors all want to communicate by email, and there's so much back and forth and stuff that I never used to have to do. It was a phone call or a fax kind of thing in the old days, or a rep would come and see you. And in many ways, it was more simplistic. Now there's so many different layers that you have to be on top of, that when I'm here, I like to be available to my customer, and I can't be in the office all the time. So that's why work's coming home with me. I want to be able to I have grandchildren. I'd like to be able to spend more time with them. And it's my issue. I'm so hands-on. I like to be with my customer. I like to be the one on the floor setting things up, arranging things, and so forth. And it's not something you can really teach someone. My girls all see what I do and how I do it, but they don't really have the confidence to do it themselves. And I don't know, maybe I intimidate them, but I mean, we laugh about it. They say, "Oh, I put something out, but I know you're going to move it," kind of thing. But it's my own fault. I mean, I think you're probably going to say, if something you could do differently, what would you do differently? And I think I had to set boundaries much earlier in my life. It's too late now, but
It's never too late.
well, it's not too late, but but I feel that I needed to definitely give more time. I mean, I think about it too. Both my husband and I, self-employed, we couldn't go on vacation together most of the time, because if I wasn't working, I wasn't getting paid, and I was paying someone else to cover for me. If he wasn't working, he wasn't getting paid. And so we didn't go on vacation together, and there was a lot of things we didn't do that when I look back, I regret. My kids turned out great, so I don't worry about it. But I think, I needed to have made more time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you have to make more time to have a life, and I feel that I, whether, maybe I exercise a couple of times a week, but there's other things I'd like to be doing that I maybe don't.
Yeah, I've seen that a familiar theme
Yeah.
among business owners
Yeah.
where they say that they invested so much time and energy to their
Yeah.
business it became like their baby,
Yeah.
and then they forgot about,
Yeah.
the family
Yeah.
aspect where they kind of tried to get out of that 9 to 5
Mm-hmm.
to have that
Mm-hmm.
family. Now
Mm-hmm.
they have that family and have the non 9 to
Yes.
5,
Right.
but they've
Right.
fallen into the same
Yeah.
patterns.
Yeah.
How would you say, because you said that you would do that differently.
Mm-hmm.
How?
Well, it would have cost me more money. That's the thing. It would
Mhm.
have cost me really bringing someone on board to manage, to really be able,
Mhm.
um, and there wasn't enough money to go around, in the sense like I'd be paying, I'd be paying someone as much or more than what I was taking
Mhm.
home in order to entice someone to come work for me.
Understood.
That's really what it comes down to.
Mhm.
Um, but probably more recently, everybody who works for me is part time. It probably would make, but again, if I had one full time person, it wouldn't be enough people because I need flexibility for
Mhm.
busy times of year and when we're doing events or that sort of thing. So I've sort of felt the part time mix does work better. It's an ongoing process of
Mhm.
how to manage that. It really is. So I just, but sometimes I just have to say I am going to come in late, but everybody expects me to be here. I'm more likely to get a text from one of my girls saying I'm running late, assuming I'm here. Well, how come everybody assumes I'm always here? Do you know what I mean? That's my fault.
Mhm.
Whereas maybe some days I should just come in at lunchtime. But again, I'm a bit of a morning person, so I get more done in the morning, you know?
Understood. Yeah, I guess when people start to evolve, because you
Yes,
said if you had one full timer, you'd run into the same situation you're having with your husband,
right.
only it would be with your
Yeah,
with your
right.
your worker.
Yeah,
Because now, if any sort of conflict happens, schedule,
yeah,
who's to manage the
yeah,
store.
right.
So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Um, what has entrepreneurship taught you about yourself?
That I'm capable. you know, I basically can can do ever thrown at me.
Hmm.
Basically, I've struggled on occasions. There's always something new to learn. The whole social media thing. That's why Gabby and everything. I can do stuff, but I don't have time.
Hmm.
Time just seems to be, I look back now, I think, how did I manage to do kids and this? But like I say, things have changed. And also, actually, since COVID, my business is in some ways better because, and this is something I didn't say the last time, but it doesn't really matter. Um, People are looking for a retail experience now. They're looking for hands-on. Everybody has spent so much time online. They spend their workday online. They spent COVID online, whether they were Zooming, whether whatever. People actually want to go into stores now.
Hmm.
So if they can come into a place like this and have an experience, then they enjoy it.
Hmm.
So, but also what I was going to backtrack, a lot of New Yorkers bought or moved up here permanently during COVID, and a lot of people bought and have continued. So our population again has shifted a bit. It was really starting to age out, but then we got, 35, 45 sort of people with younger families
Hmm.
moving in. Again, New Yorkers, a lot of it's sort of second home, or now they're working from home because they can. So I've developed a bit of a new clientele. So my business since COVID is probably better than it's been in a number of years.
Hmm.
So I am working harder. And I'm actually probably outgrowing this space, if I'm being perfectly honest. But
Hmm.
I'm not about to try and find a bigger one. But that's where I feel I'm at. I said that just the other day to my husband. I said, realistically speaking, I'm beginning to outgrow the space.
So explain. So if a customer was to come in, do you curate outfits for the customer,
I
or
will if they want me to.
Mhm.
You have to read them.
like a
Some people,
stylist?
yeah, some people want help, others don't. But
Mhm.
I have spent a lot of time working with people, and a lot of people want help. You
Mhm.
know, or they come in, I'm going to an event, or I've got a black skirt but I need something, or how do I put this together? And
Mhm.
yeah, I really enjoy doing that
I
too.
think that's a great service
Yeah,
to have, because
yeah,
I know I'm short,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
have a tough
I
time
don't carry
finding.
petites.
that's
There's no
that's
room.
that's
Right.
my
Yeah.
my where I stumble in
Right.
fashion is because
Right.
I have to shop in the petite
Right.
section, and then my jeans are all shorts,
Right.
like the short, tall,
Yes.
regular.
Right.
So I struggle to find things that actually fit my arm length.
Hmm.
So when that's why I was actually wondering if.
Well, with the high rise pants being so popular now,
Mhm.
you must be able to find some shorter sweaters. The sweaters are not as long as they were for
Mhm.
years. So I would have thought right now you'd have better luck finding things that actually do fit.
I swim in absolutely everything I own,
Do you?
unless
Yeah. Right.
I have to be going for something very specific.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
I would love a curated
Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
for maybe your next venture is a petite store, because I would love that. I'd be all over
Yeah. Yeah.
it. um
It's funny you say that because I'm tall.
yeah.
Everybody thinks that I cater to tall. I
Mhm.
mean, everybody says, "Oh, these are so long. These are good for you," kind of thing. But it's a lot of vendors just make things long. And I tell people you can make things shorter, but you can't lengthen things. You got to look at it
Exactly.
that way. But often when you shorten things, you can ruin the proportions. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Well, that's what I
yeah,
found. Like when I go to
of
get something
course,
hemmed, I
yeah,
look almost chopped
yeah,
off because the flare
yeah,
isn't where it
right,
should line up
right,
with. Oh
yeah,
goodness,
yeah,
fashion is not my thing. It's not my thing. So I'm glad
yeah,
there are people like you to help
yeah.
us. um, how do you handle moments of feeling overwhelmed or unsure
Um,
when it comes to business?
Usually I just dig in.
Mhm.
I start reading stuff, how do I do this? Or trying to find out, answers to my questions,
Mhm.
or what's bothering me, or other people experiencing the same, that kind of thing. Other people in business having the same, has business really dropped off? Or, the state has just said you've got to do blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Or, there's always something. Or insurance agents want this information, or the credit card processors now, you have to, prove all kinds of things to be able to process credit cards. You have to say that you're handling everything above board, so there's no funny business going on. There's
Mhm.
always something new that you have to tackle, and you want to make sure you're doing it right. So again, it's just checking in with other people and reading up on stuff. And I mean, just again, going back to COVID, in order to get help, you had to fill in reams of forms. I
Mhm.
wanted to make sure my employees were being paid, whether it was by me or I was going to be reimbursed through the program they had. And it was just doing all this stuff. I had no idea. Most accountants were doing it for
Mhm.
whereas my accountant, he said, "You did it?" I'm like, "Uh-huh." I mean, I was on the phone to my bank within minutes. It's like, whatever. I said, I can't pay the mortgage. I said, I'll pay the interest, until I reopen or something. And I worked all that stuff out. It's just like, you got to think about, how am I going to keep operating? I mean, you panic, and then you think, well, wait a minute, what do I do? I have to contact every vendor, tell them not to ship anything they were going to ship. Everybody that I was supposed to pay, I can't pay you until I reopen. I mean, it was just a huge amount of work
Mhm.
in order to think that you would be able to reopen,
Mhm.
that you couldn't be paying any bills in the meantime. You had to stop them all because you had no income, no money coming in. So, it's just making that work.
Where's your network? You were talking about how you spoke to other people. How are you networking? Where are you finding other people, business owners, to
Right.
to speak about these things?
I don't network with as many people as I probably used to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would like to develop a network again. I'd prefer I suppose, to be able to network with people that aren't in Kent anymore, only because I need to get a bigger picture. I'm always someone who wants the bigger picture. It can't all be Kent Central.
Yeah.
And I think that became part of the problem for me in town was businesses in town were thinking too narrowly. They weren't looking outside of town. I mean, the only way you're going to build your customer base is looking outside. You can't just look to Kent all the time. So I felt like people weren't thinking along the same lines I was. So I don't have a huge network. I do go to some women's there's a women's networking group that I'm a member of, but and I go to that, I suppose, about once a month or so.
Okay.
But I don't feel they're really. I shouldn't say I don't feel they're not my people. I have to, I'm not always good in big crowds of people. I'm better with smaller groups. If there was six women or something, maybe that would be a manageable number. But when you have a large group and everybody's trying to be social, it doesn't always work for me.
Well, with your business, you have a very personal, they walk in the doors and they expect, an experience. So I would assume that you feel like that in your everyday, otherwise you wouldn't have built this. So that makes perfect sense. And I'm not a crowd gal either. So I much better in an intimate setting than I am in a group of people. So that makes perfect sense. But I guess what I was trying to ask was like, where are all these women? Where are, because I run into that issue is where are all these people that I'm supposed to meet and get this information from? And I guess essentially that's why I started this, because
I think
I don't know where the information is.
Exactly. And I think you're doing a good thing. And I think once you've done this with 6 or 8 people, get them all together. And just
that's the plan. You've got me. That's the plan. Because there's a lot of young entrepreneurs that are afraid to even take that first step to just reach out. Because they'll walk into a store and love this experience, want to do exactly what you're doing, but have no idea how. And you even said it before, you need to be an expert in what you do. You need to be an expert in what you want to build, because otherwise you have no idea what to put down as the foundation, let alone what to build with. So it takes people like you sharing your story and being able to just share that experience and give them that little bit of hope, because especially for females, I mean, it is hard to be a woman in business, especially in a male dominated field. I know retail is a mixed bag of tricks.
But here's an example. Like if someone was really interested in learning this kind of business, let's say, then go into a business you like and offer to intern. I mean, the way you would with a larger company. Go in and say, I'll work for nothing maybe, or would you hire me because I'm thinking, if someone says I'm thinking of opening a store next door, I'd say, well, I don't think so. But if someone's thinking of opening a store somewhere else or just wants to have the experience to see if it's something they might want to do, then that's the kind of thing to do, I think.
Yeah. The reason why I started this whole thing and why I'm trying to pursue this and push this, and as awkward as I am on camera and on the mic, I have to keep pushing through this awkwardness because these are the conversations that people aren't having, because they're just too afraid to take that first step. And this was, and I appreciate your time, because I know you well, that's the thing too,
though. This is another thing about being online. People aren't having real conversations anymore on any level, because everybody, what are they talking about? Kids in high school now are having relationships with, AI, and it's like, okay, we have to get back to talking to each other. And working with each other.
Exactly. That's why I am really trying to create this platform. I think you were a little weary of me at first, probably, but
really. I'm open. Gabby said do it. I'm like, okay.
Gabby said do it. Trust Gabby. Do it. What would you say to a woman who is sitting on an idea but doubting themselves? I know we kind of touched on that, but what would be one lesson for you to give them to get that mind shift?
Well, you're always going to doubt yourself. I mean, we all doubt ourselves every day, but it goes back to that sort of expert in the field. If you feel you can talk about what it is you're trying to sell or do or whatever, if you know your subject well, then you will succeed. I mean, you're gonna, you'll come up against some walls along the way and hurdles, but if there wasn't doubt, you'd never succeed. I mean, it's something that we all have to go through. I mean, it's like every rejection. I mean, how many interviews have you had for a job and being rejected? Or, or I try an event and it's a big flop. Well, it's a learning lesson, I mean, you try things and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So, but I think it really goes back to kind of knowing, just knowing what you want to do. I mean, not doubting yourself, but knowing what it is you want to do and why.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the why is
Yeah.
that big,
Is
the big
Right.
push.
Yeah.
And that once you have the why,
right? Yeah.
you figure out the how.
Yes,
Even if you
yes.
just throw it together
Right.
for a little fake it
Right.
till you make it kind of
Yep.
kind of mentality.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So the podcast that you're currently on is Unclocked. Do
Mhm.
you know what the meaning of Unclocked is? Or do you
I don't specifically know.
So Unclocked to me is breaking free of that 9 to 5,
Right.
not having to clock in and
Yep.
clock out on a daily basis.
Right.
Do you have an experience of when you finally became unclocked? Like when you finally broke through to become your own business owner, to do bigger things than just clocking in to a 9 to 5?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I mean, as soon as I started my own business, I was unclocked. I mean, the fact that I could take my child to work with me or my baby infant to work with me, that kind of thing, it gave me a freedom in a way that I wouldn't have had, So even though, hours and things shift and I may have put in, huge amount of hours, what do they say, blood, sweat, and tears or whatever over the years, everything you put in is, well, everything you get out is what you put in this. Whereas if you're working for a large corporation, another business, it's not all you. This is all you. So you can choose not to on occasion, or you just keep working away at it.
And I have one last question for you. When you initially made that push to open your own business, when was the moment, the almost like the aha moment, and it flipped from like your return on investment, like when you made that initial investment to when you started making money? Was it like the 1 year? You know how they say within the the first 3 to 5 years, there's typically a time where you're probably not going to make a large profit. When was that moment for you that you made your salary, the business was running well?
Well, you'd probably be amazed at how little I earn. I would say that, but that's just a lifestyle choice in real terms, living here. I would say, in all honesty, it was probably, I would say it was almost 10 years in before, when I'm thinking back now, I would say within the 7 to 10 year range, probably, before it felt like it was going to keep moving, in the right direction.
And how does somebody stay in business for how long? It's over 30 years.
So it'll be 35 years next year.
35 years.
Yeah.
How does one stay in business for 35 years?
Well, if you love what you do, I mean, bottom line, although there's a lot of things right now that I find irritating and frustrating within the job description, for want of another word, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy my customers. I like the merchandise that I can offer people. I like, the setting the store up and the displays and all of that. And I enjoy what I do. If you like what you do, you can do it forever. I mean, you know, people say, well, what happens if you close the store? You're not planning on retiring, are you? Well, you know, one day I will. I'm not going to do it forever, but maybe I won't, because that's the
Yeah.
other thing. I feel like if I didn't do this, I'd have to do something else. I'm not someone to sit on my hands. So, you know, I'll keep going for the foreseeable future.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with
You're
me today.
welcome.
I appreciate it so much.
You're welcome.
And again, this is Geraldine Woodruff from Terston, and you can come visit her beautiful store at 27 Main Street in Kent, Connecticut. Thank you.